AVC, how's it going? Right, okay, a very quick video. I went down to Newquay in Cornwall with my family on a brief holiday a few weeks ago now. When I was down there, I visited a couple of record shops, so I've got a handful of records to show that I picked up from down there. Yeah, and that's pretty much made up my listening for the last few weeks, but I just want to show what I'm listening to in the background. This is King Sunny Ade and his African Beats. The album's called Juju Music. I think it's early 80s, 82, 83, something like that, on Island Records. It's just that lovely Nigerian high life sounds. Yeah, fantastic stuff. I've got a few of his albums and they're all wonderful. So yeah, great. Right, okay. Today's record store day. Now, I don't always get involved with record store day. I think a lot of the time it's just an excuse to sell overpriced stuff. But that's just, the cynic in me, So, but I think at the moment record store day is more valid than ever. Particularly for record shops that specialise in selling new vinyl as opposed to used vinyl. I think for them, along with the rest of the high street, I think times are really tough at the minute. So it's just a good excuse to get out into your local store. So there were two albums that I was after and I got them both. So first up, this is Magnum, Fully Loaded. Now, I'm sorry to say this isn't the black country rock band Magnum, fronted by Bob Catley. This is an American band from the early 70s. This album, it's a strong funk record with a Latin vibe going on as well. Yeah, it's really nice throughout. Every track is good. It's not one of these records where it's just got one or two tracks that are worth listening to. The whole thing is good. It goes for silly money online. I've never been able to find an original copy. So I was really pleased when this reissue came out. It's on coloured vinyl. It's on purple vinyl. I wish they'd just did it on black vinyl, to be perfectly honest. I'm not a big fan of putting things out on coloured vinyl for the sake of it. But yeah, really nice stuff. I'll do a needle drop on one of the tracks. Very good. Right, okay. The other album that I was after and picked up, this is Terry Hall and Home. Now, this came out in 1994. So when I finished college and I got my first job with my first pay packet, this is the album that I bought. If you asked me what my top 10 favourite albums would be, this would be in there. It's a proper desert island album for me. So it's interesting. So Terry Hall was obviously, prior to his coming out, I think he'd been making records for about 15 years or so with bands like The Specials, Vegas, the Funboy 3, The Colourfield. So this was actually the first time he'd put out an album under his own name. And I think it's a perfect pop album. It's 10 tracks. He works with the likes of Ian Brody, who's producer and co-writer on one of the tunes. But also he co-wrote songs with the likes of Andy Partridge, Nick Haywood, Craig Gannon, the Smiths and Aztec Camera. So, it's got a sort of strong pedigree there. And I just think it's a really lovely, British pop record. It's funny because a lot of his peers from around that sort of late 70s, early 80s period, whether it be Paul Weller or Nick Haywood or Edwyn Collins, a lot of those artists put out really good albums around this sort of time. And many of those had much more success than Terry Hall. I think he was just missing that big tune, that big single, which I think would have kicked things on a bit. But yeah, it's a great. It's one of my favourite albums. If you like that sort of stuff, I can't recommend that enough. Right, okay. So the albums that I picked up were some down in Cornwall. So we went for a day quite late in the week in a little seaside town called Falmouth. There's a lovely harbour there, and on the high street there were a couple of record shops. I've been to the shops there quite a few times over the years, and always managed to find something. The first shop I went into is called Sounds OK, and it's predominantly more sort of classic rock, that sort of thing going on in there. And if I'm honest, the price is a little bit on the high side. But I did find this. This is Letta Mbulu. Her album from 1978 is called Letta. Now, I've shown her albums before. So she's a South African artist. She left South Africa, I think, late 60s, time of apartheid, to go to America. And she made 2 or 3 lovely records in the early 70s, really full-on funk records, This is far more polished. It's much more of a smooth sound. It's produced by Herb Albert, so you perhaps expect that. It's on the A&M label, and it features some wonderful session musicians, many of the big names. So it's sort of perhaps what you expect, but it has got some really nice moments. She sings in several South African dialects on this record, which is really nice, quite interesting. But not her best record, but still it's one I've been playing quite a bit over the last few weeks. Right, so when we're walking down the high street in Falmouth, we walk past this small used bookstore, and I happened to glance in, and saw 2 small boxes of records. So I said to my wife, you know, you walk on and I'll just quickly look through this for a couple of minutes. So so I went through the box, and it's pretty much standard stuff. It'd been well picked over by every man and his dog before me, but I was the only person in the shop, and the owner said, oh, and I've got another box of records out back, a box of jazz records, but I haven't had a chance to price them up as yet. Now, I don't know about you, but you know, I find that quite exciting. You know, a box of records that nobody's gone through before. You know, if I go into a record shop, I always go through new arrivals first. If you're at a car boot sale, if you're first in the box, there's always that thrill of finding something, you know, ahead of everybody else. So yeah, so you know, eventually brought this box of records out, you know, so and I did go through it. It was predominantly early 70s reissues, many French reissues actually, of late 50s and 60s jazz albums. And I did pick one out, which was this. This is Charles Mingus, The Black Saint and the Sinner Lady. So when I pulled this out and asked for a price on it, the guy got a little bit flustered because he hadn't had a chance to do any research on any of these records. He didn't know what price he was going to charge, anything like that. So he started messing around with his phone, looking for Discogs and stuff like that. And he said, all right, it's a first US pressing. Now, I know the album came out in about 62, 63. And just looking at the label, you can see straight away, it's not a first pressing. I think it actually says 1972 on the bottom of the label there. So, you know, you don't have to be pro to work that one out. But, you know, once he decided what the press was, he gave me a price, which was a fair price, right? So, great stuff. So, right, so as I say, I've read a lot about this album over the years. I've heard a lot of people's opinions about it. But up until a couple of weeks ago, I'd never heard a single note of it. I'd always tried, there was a number of albums like this where, you know, they're highly spoke of. So this is, I think this is often cited as being Mingus' best record. And for that reason, I want to hear it in, I don't just want to hear a sound clip online, you know, I want to be able to sit down and enjoy it. So I've always avoided listening to this. And I don't know what I expected, but this isn't it. You know, I know that Mingus described the music as being a sort of folk dancing style, which I don't really know what to make of that. I don't know what that is. But to me, this just sounds like a film noir soundtrack. It's wonderful stuff. There's so much tension in the music. Yeah, it really does sort of fit that sort of genre. And it's a lovely copy. I've been playing this a lot over the last 2 weeks. And yeah, just quite a random find, and I'm pleased I got a decent copy. So yeah, and so the record is in pretty much mint condition. There's a bit of a bit of wear to the sleeve there. You can see the ring wear on the back, I don't know, but it's all intact and a nice gatefold. So yeah, good stuff. Right, okay. So we're actually staying in Newquay, and I know there's a nice little record shop in Newquay. It's a sort of record shop I like. I'm always a bit dubious about record shops where everything's painted white and all the records are neatly laid out and stuff. I like a record shop where there's just piles of shit everywhere, you know. So, and this is a really small shop. There's piles of records everywhere. You can't move for records. It's a perfect type of record shop for me. And yeah, the guy in there, you know, is good value. You know, had a good chat with him. So yeah, so that's what you want from a record shop. Anyway, so one thing that I found in there, first of all, he got a nice little reggae section, only about 10 or 15 records, but all of it was nice stuff. This is an album by the Revolutionaries. It's called Earthquake Dub, I think 1977, 78, I think. Yeah, a nice Jamaican copy. You can see here it's on the Joe Gibbs label. You can see on the flip there, the label's broken up, but it doesn't affect the record. It's just broken up in the dead wax there. But yeah, so this is it's a beautiful dub album. It's one of those records which is always cited as being one of the best dub records, and again is one that I've avoided listening to previously. So it was nice being able to sit down and listen to this for the first time. Yeah, so you've got dub takes and a lot of big Jamaican tunes on here. Yeah, really nice stuff, and a great copy as well, so pleased to find that. And finally, just a few cheapies from that same shop, all of which I was really pleased to find. So first of all, Ashford and Simpson. I think this is their second album, I Wanna Be Selfish. So this is from 1974. Now, Ashford and Simpson, I've said before, I love their stuff. They were songwriters and producers for Motown, and it's quite interesting because this album, say 1974, this sound of this record is closer to that Philly International sound rather than Motown. So you could really see how the sound was moving on at this point. But yeah, really nice stuff. Then there's an album by Betty Lavette called Tell Me a Lie. Also a Motown connection there. This is on Motown from 1982. Now, Betty Lavette, I saw her play live actually about 15 years ago. A brilliant voice. She made some lovely singles in the early 70s, just great sort of Southern Soul records. I say this is on Motown from 1982. A lot more polished, but still lovely stuff. It doesn't sound anything like a Motown record. As I say, it's got that Southern Soul vibe going on. She had a bit of a big comeback in the mid 2000s. She had an album come out called I Got My Own Hell to Raise, which is brilliant. If you get a chance to hear that, I might do a little drop on that actually. But yeah, this isn't as raw as that. They say it's more polished, but still nice stuff. And finally, two of my favourite vocalists, Jerry Butler and Thelma Houston. I've showed quite a few of their records individually. They made two duet albums for Motown in the late 70s. This is the first of the two and the best of the two. And again, I'll do some needle drops on this, as you can see. That's on Motown. Yeah, really nice copy. There's a few cover versions on here. There's a Bee Gees track called Love So Right. There's a version of If You Leave Me Now by Chicago, but the best of the covers is a version of Stevie Wonder's Join Beside My Tears, which is obviously a classic anyway. But yeah, the whole album's nice. I really like Thelma Houston. She made great records throughout the 1970s and into the early 80s. And Jerry Butler just has got that lovely warm vocal style. So pleased to find that as well. So I'll do some needle drops.
They took my joy. I don't like it no more, cause they took my joy. They took my joy, I want it back. They took my joy, I want it back. Until I started in Detroit and I was looking for my joy. Said I started in Detroit and I was looking for my joy. Baby in the Motor City, I find joy. Baby in the Motor City, I find joy. Then I went to New York, I was looking for my joy. Went to New York and I was looking for my joy.
Oh, man.
You say you have missed out on love before. You know you don't have lights out anymore. My heart is thumping to the rhythm of your touch. Please give me all of your love, it'll never be too much.
Time goes by much too fast for you and I. And I'd like to hold on to each minute